In an earlier episode, we watched as our sheep were sheared. Now the next step is to actually process the wool. I brought 3 of my favorite fleeces up here to Locke's Maple Farm and Fiber Mill, where Randy and Jamie Locke are going to walk us through this really interesting process. Hi, Jamie.
Hi, Tracy.
I'm so glad you could take the time to join us today, because I know you are super busy every day processing wool, right?
Yes, we are.
Tell us about the history of the fiber mill.
We've been raising sheep since 1999, and in 2005 my husband was laid off from his job, and during the time since we had sheep I learned how to hand spin, and we've been going to fiber festivals, and we were actually headed to a fiber festival right after he was laid off. So we went and we wandered around wondering what are we going to do to pay the bills, and came up with the idea of installing a fiber mill, because there was lots of fiber being processed and a lot of it was being shipped out west to be done. So we could see a need in our area, and so we spent the next year researching it, looking for funding, finding equipment, and a year later we actually ordered the equipment, and in May of 2007 we opened our doors.
So Jamie, how many different types of fiber would you say you've seen go through here?
We have done alpaca, llama, camel, sheep wool. Sheep come in many, many different varieties. We've done dog, we have done Scottish Highlander, and basically anybody who wants to send anything to us, we'll at least give it a go.
Dog.
Dog.
So the first step in processing wool is skirting your fiber, right? And I actually brought the raw wool with me, Jamie, because I've never skirted. So I brought my raw wool fleeces so that you could help me skirt and show me what the correct process is to do it. So could we go on into the skirting table?
We sure can.
Okay, great. Now Jamie, why skirt?
Well, your finished product, you really don't want hay chaff, and you don't want the poopy tags, because it does get left behind in the fleece.
Like this. I'm going to pull that out.
So you want to pull out stuff that you don't want in your finished product.
Okay. And like we said before, typically this is done before the wool gets to you, before the fleece gets to you. Okay.
And sometimes there's fiber that's matted, so we're looking for matted fibers that you're not going to want in it.
Okay.
And some breeds, with the Navajo churro, not necessarily. Some breeds you're going to see a lot of what we refer to as second cuts. There's one right there where the clippers went over and there's a short cut. Some breeds, that's going to cause what we call noils that would look like a pill on a sweater.
Yes.
So it's going to lower the quality of the finished product. So you want to kind of get that stuff out.
Okay.
Areas, when you lay the fleece out, sometimes you can tell this was the neck or the head end and this was the tail end. Usually in the back of the neck, depending on how they're fed, you're going to find a lot of hay chaff in the back of the neck. So you want to pull that out.
Okay.
Because that's going to make your finished product a little scratchy.
Okay.
And on the tail end, there's obvious stuff that you want to get out.
Sure. And then after we're done skirting, the fleece moves to the washing area?
The washing station, yeah.
Okay. That's some hot water.
Yes. The key to scouring fiber is hot water. The hot water, it needs to be at least 160 degrees to cut the lanolin or grease.
Okay.
All fibers do have grease or oil or lanolin. Lanolin is in sheep wool. All sheep have lanolin.
Right.
Other fibers, alpaca, llama, they may not have lanolin, but they do have just natural body oils, just like we do.
Sure.
That need to be cleaned out.
And how do you cut the grease or lanolin?
Between the hot water, and then we use a soap, Eco Scour. We're actually in the process of switching to a completely organic soap that we will be using soon. And the soap is made specifically for scouring fibers.
Oh, is that right? That's great. Now, tell us about these sinks. What's going on in each one of the sinks here?
Okay, right now they're soaking. Judging by the clips, we kind of keep track of what stage they're at. There's 2 clips on that one, so that one must be going in for when that sink is full. The fiber in the extractor will go into that sink for its second soap bath. Each fiber gets 2 soap baths and then a rinse bath, and the clips go on to the handle of the spigot so that we know what stage it's at.
That's smart.
This one's in its, these must be getting ready to go to the extractor to come back for their second soap bath.
Okay.
And this one is in its first soap bath.
Okay. And the extractor, tell us a little bit about that machine.
Okay. The hydro extractor, all it does is spins.
Okay.
If you agitate fiber when it's wet, any type of fiber, it's going to felt. And
Right.
then basically it renders it pretty much useless.
And
So
felt meaning it just mats up,
it
doesn't
mats
it?
together.
Okay.
Correct. And it'll be in a big clump, and then there's really nothing you can do with it without destroying it. So spinning is okay.
Right.
And the extractor basically works like a centrifuge.
Uh-huh.
So what it does is it just spins the water out at a high rate of speed.
Right.
And that helps us get, our fiber goes from each time it's in the water bath, it goes into the extractor to get as much of the dirty water out of it before it goes into the next bath. And then after the rinse bath, that helps speed the drying process for us.
So you want to spin it and not agitate it.
Correct.
All right. And then after the 2 washings and rinsings and extracting,
It
then to...
goes to the drying racks.
Okay. Okay, so after the washing, the rinsing, and the extracting, where does the fleece go?
It needs to go on the drying racks.
It needs to dry.
It needs to dry before we can process
This
it.
is the drying rack.
That's a drying rack.
All right. Okay, so we've moved on to the picker. With the picker, this is Randy. So Randy, this is the picking machine. What does the picking machine do?
What the picker is going to do is open the fibers up. As you can see, they're pretty much still confined and
Yeah.
captured together. Different fiber stays tighter. Some of it's really tight. Some of it's a little
Right.
bit looser depending on the fiber type. And this is going to actually open it up so that the fibers get more individual than just the mass clump so that it can proceed to the next machine.
Okay.
The feed belt is going to feed it into the feed rollers, and then inside the feed rollers there's a drum that rotates in there with, they're like spikes on there. What the spikes do is go down through the fibers and actually open the fibers up, as I was stating earlier. And we can set the speeds depending on the fiber type, again, of how fast the drum is rotating and opening the fibers, as well as how fast the belt is actually putting fiber into the drum. The picking process, usually we can pick enough fiber within just an hour for quite a period of time. So this machine doesn't have to run every day, all day long.
Gotcha.
This will also help to release if there's vegetation matter, hay chaff, or anything in it. By opening it up, it allows it to fall out easier. All right, this is the other end of the picker where it actually is going to go opened up fibers are actually being collected in a closet. And at this point, we'll just continue to fill as much fiber as we have. You can get 2 or 3 feet in there. It's really light and fluffy at this point because all the fibers are more individual strands instead of being clumped together more as they come off of the sheep. This is a fairly fine wool.